Hey guys, Alex here. I'm gonna play an exercise. I'm just try to do at least one playtest per day. But I also wanted to offer since there isn't instructions in the game yet. It seems like most of you guys who are playing the playtest, you already have some experience with LANDNAV, so it may have been a little while, or you may have done a little bit of training, but you kind of want to prepare a little bit for some course or something you're gonna go do. I'm just gonna play an exercise. I'm gonna try to kind of talk through my decision making process as I'm playing. This won't be complete step by step training, but if you need something more like that, right now the best place to go is probably YouTube. I think there's some pretty good channels from some pretty knowledgeable people giving the sort of step by step instruction that you might need to get started. But if you just need a refresher, or you kind of want to see how this specific terrain kind of plays out, this will be good for you because a lot of LANDNAV does depend on the terrain that you're working on. Each terrain type will kind of dictate what sort of techniques you have or what sort of techniques you need to use. So I'm gonna play one of the harder exercises here, and this one it's only got 2 points, but it's a pretty long one. I haven't I've played some of these other ones in the same area, but I haven't played this one yet. But I'm going to do this one, GHO2. Even though it's only got 2 points, it's still a pretty long movement from G to H. So I'm going to set it in the morning just because I kind of like the early morning time. Give it a go. I'm not going to worry too much about trying to go fast and trying to get that time hack just because I'm going to be kind of explaining what I'm doing along the way. But to get things started here, let's go ahead and take a look at our points. First, let's just get a basic orientation. Okay, so north is that way. This is looking west. Okay. So let's open up our notepad and get to plotting these points. So our start point is 0169, and then our end point is 0068. So 0068, we're going to end here, and then 0169, we're going to start here. Okay. Oh, one thing. So it used to be that the camera in this planning mode had quite a bit of perspective in it, and that meant that the protractor, it wouldn't appear to line up. It would look like this, and even though it is actually lined up, it wouldn't appear so. This new camera doesn't have any perspective in it, so everything should line up perfectly. So what you want to do is don't line up this part because there's actually I made this thing really realistic to the point that it's a little confusing. These things usually have a bit of extra plastic on the inside, and so you don't line up that basically the actual crosshairs there. You kind of line up the inside of the plastic, but you don't really need to worry about that. What you can do is just line up the actual line here. So hold down Shift to just nudge, line up that line, and then you'll see. Then you can just line up this line, and so then it will line up perfectly. So basically, line up the outside edges, and then you'll be good. But also, even if you got it off that much, that's a difference of 10 20 meters. That's not a degree of accuracy that you're feasibly ever going to be able to have. We're not dropping laser bombs here. We're walking through the woods, and so just to keep expectations realistic, typically you should plan on getting within 100 meters of a control point. If you're doing like an academic exercise where you're starting here and you're going to a point, here and here and here, just to basically learn the basics of shooting azimuths, in that case you could expect to walk right to your point. But if you're moving, more than 500 meters and you're going over different types of terrain, hills, if you're going around bushes, you definitely should not expect that you're going to walk directly to your point, with no deviation. That would be kind of setting yourself up for heartache because you'll never have that degree of accuracy. So definitely keep your expectations realistic. You can see these points alone that we make, cover up 50 meters or more. So okay, so enough about that. So 0068. Let's go ahead and plot our endpoint. 0068. And it's 6175. So let's go to 6, add just a nudge, and then 75. Plot it right there. Okay, so start here, end there, and then let's get our points. So it's 0068 and then 0067. So it'll be here and then here. Great. So 0068, this will be the first one, and this will be the second one. So it's 2627. So let's get 26 there, and then 27. That's gonna be a tough one. It's just out there in kind of the middle of the open with no good backstops around it. Now, kind of. Now let's go ahead and plot our next one. It's the grid square down here below it, 2051. So 2051. Okay, down there. Again, both these will be tough spots. So this is why I knew this one was going to be longer. The start and end aren't too far apart, but the actual points you're getting are, I just knew they were kind of down in this area. So pretty tough exercise. It's not so much the distance that makes it tough. It's the fact that over in this area of the map you have quite a few landmarks. You got a river, and you got this other, kind of river water reservoir down here. You got a couple of open areas. You got some kind of big, huge draws, bisecting the area, another open area. So even if you get a bit lost, you can always kind of double back and get to one of those known points, keep tabs on where you are, and work from attack points. This is kind of a more advanced area of the map because the only thing you have to go off of is being able to read these, these draws, these drainages, these hills. So it could be quite challenging. And you might think, okay, if I can't read the terrain too well, then I'll rely more on my dead reckoning skills, following my direction, my azimuth, counting my pace to know my distance. The issue with that is it's pretty tough to just bust through all these draws and drainages because they're filled with thick vegetation. So you have to do a lot of bypassing obstacles. So that it's just challenging. Whatever method you're using, it's a pretty good challenge. So. If you know what you're doing and you want to really put your skills to the test, come over and do some of these exercises. But I wanted to do a tougher one. That way it would force me to kind of really, use all the different skills and techniques, and kind of you can get a sense of, in terrain like this, what sort of techniques are appropriate and in which situation. Okay, so plotted my start point and plotted all my other points. So let's start making a plan. I'm going to look at my start point here. And let me just double check that I put that right. So 0169. 4015. Yeah. For some reason I was looking at, because I've started from the start point before, and I was looking at that and I said, hold on, something about that feels right. So I don't know what I did, but I did something wrong. And since I did something wrong once, let's double check it again. 4015 and 0169. Okay, always good to double check. And I'll double check this one too. 0068. Probably at the point when I was plotting that, somebody saw the mistake I was doing. I was like, oh my god, you idiot, what are you doing? Yeah, that's one of the hindsight things, right? 6175, so 6175. Okay, so that one's good. I'll double check the other ones once I make a plan. So when it comes to planning, since this is training, basically we just do whatever makes sense for training. And in my case, I prefer to just kind of plan one portion at a time. That way I don't have to kind of have as much in my head. However, if you're an infantry guy or some other type of combat arms where LANDNAV is not just something you do for training but a daily part of your job, usually, especially if you're planning a mission like a patrol or something, you have to plan the whole mission, right? You don't just plan one part at a time. You have to plan it all in one go. So definitely if you're an infantry guy or something like that, you should probably stay in the habit of planning your entire mission, planning each leg of it, having your little notes to go by and then just kind of doing it all in one swoop. However, if you're just doing this for training or just doing it for fun, it's totally fine to just kind of plan one leg at a time. It all evens out in the end. I mean, if you're planning in the field, that's still time you have to spend planning. It's just whether you do it all up front or not. But for me, I prefer to just go one at a time, because then I can kind of get moving quicker, and I don't have to have as much information in my head, which means I'm a little less likely to make a mistake. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a plan. So I'm looking at the terrain. I don't think I just want to go straight line, because take a look at these elevation markers here, and you can see that this is a drainage. This is lower area, and I know that that's going to be full of thick vegetation, so I don't want to go through there. It'll be really tough and take forever. So I'm looking, I want to bypass basically this, kind of draw system here, and I don't think there's any good way to get around it this way. I'd have to go extremely far on the way and kind of follow these hills. If I come up here to the north, though, it does look a little more feasible. Could kind of climb up here and just kind of follow all the contours here and come back down it like that. So it might seem like I'm going kind of far out of the way, but if you want to try going through that kind of stuff, you can try it, and you'll learn why I'm trying to avoid it, because it's a pretty big pain in the butt to try and bust through brush. Okay, so what I'm going to do is shoot for the top of this hill. I'll have a couple kind of smaller hills that will kind of act to inform me along the way where I'm going, I'll shoot for the top of this hill, because the top of a prominent hill will be a good attack point, because I'll be able to easily know that I'm there, right? If there's nothing else that's higher above me, then I'm on top of the hill. And then from there, that's when I think at that point I'll have to make just like a straight line and follow my azimuth and count my pace. And so I won't have to, I'll be able to just run, get up to the top of that hill quickly, because I've got good terrain to count on. I'm confident I'll be able to recognize the top of the hill and get to it without going past it. But to get the Humvee, that's going to be down here, just in the middle of middle of nowhere. There's not a lot of easily readable terrain around it that will be highly identifiable. So in that case, I'm going to have to use dead reckoning techniques to get to it safely, because I could easily go too far left or right of it and go too far and not know. So that's the big danger there. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our azimuth to this. Our azimuth to this hill is going to be about like that, and then I'll add 5 for the GM angle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take a look at there, and that gives us 279. For it's going to be about 600 meters, a little more than 600 meters. I'll just write 600, because we're not going to a precise point on that hill. Basically, we just got to get to the hill, and then I'll kind of go to the furthest reach of it on the west, and then I'll shoot my point from there, or shoot my azimuth from there. So 279 for 600. Along the way, we're looking for a little bit of a dip, then a minor hill, dip back down, and then a relatively steep climb up to our highest point. So down, little up, down, big up. Okay, and then typically I would even make a few notes, but just in the interest of time, I'm just gonna get moving. So down, up, down, up. Okay, and 279. Okay, so 279 there. Just line that up with my bezel. And then, so here's the little trick. So you don't have to walk with your nose in your compass, kind of checking it, kind of incessantly every 5 feet, find a tree or something that's along your path, even if it's off slightly. Yeah, so that tree will do. See that tree over there? I'll just kind of mentally mark him there, and that way I can just basically run to him. Then I don't have to kind of be slave to my compass and be checking it every 5 feet. I can just basically keep tabs on that tree, run to it, and then once I get to it, find the next kind of guy who's along my path. And be aware of, just because you can see it from one side doesn't mean once you start moving you'll be able to keep tabs on it constantly. So if you have to dip down, you might lose track of it, so be aware of that. But if you can use that technique, see there's the tree I was going for. If you can use that technique, it can help a lot, just because if you're not being slave to your compass, what that means is it frees up your eyes so that you can study the terrain more, keeping tabs on the terrain as you're moving. And it's just less mentally taxing too, because you're kind of more free to move around obstacles and kind of walk in a natural way, and not having to worry about am I perfectly on azimuth for every single step. Okay, so I think we're coming to that first bit of a hill there. Just kind of double check, a little sanity check. And yeah, so I'm looking at it. Let's take away the 5 that we adjusted for the GM angle. I'm looking at it, and it is a little bit more to my right. Just as we're seeing here, there's a little bit of a just a little bit of a finger of a drainage over here on my left, which is what we're seeing. And then if we stay perfectly on this azimuth, we will dip down and then come back up. I might kind of, just to stay up high and save a little energy, I might kind of follow the contour of the land a bit. Rather than kind of going through that. That's what I mean, just kind of follow the contour around, since I know it's going to guide me towards my hill. And that's one of those things. I mean, a lot of you guys have probably done quite a bit of walking and done some LANDNAV in real life, so you understand that it's better to stay on top of hills than to go up and down them. So when I play, I tend to kind of do the same thing. Hold on, I got a little disoriented here while I was jabbing. Yeah, so that's our goal that we're going towards, and this is the kind of big drainage I was talking about. So yeah, just rather than go through that, we'll kind of follow the high ground around it a little bit further, but it means less up and downhill, and also less going through the brush. So once I get to the top of that hill there, what I want to do is position myself in a way that basically I can know with as much certainty about exactly where I am as possible. So there's no way to know precisely, because this is kind of a big hill. This upper portion of it is a few hundred meters long, but I know that it has a crest, and so as long as I don't go down more than 10 meters, I'm on the upper crest portion of it. Well, I'll show you here in a minute. It'll be easier to see, rather than explain. So now I know that, okay, this is the highest part of it, right? Well, I mean, up there is, but those contour lines on the map would go by 10 meters at a time. So I don't think that's 10 meters higher than I am now, so it's not something I would read on the map. So if I'm on the top of the hill, as long as I don't go down, you know, make a 10-meter elevation drop, then I know that I can kind of know with some certainty where I am on the map. That's a little hard to explain. I'll show you here once I get to the, I'm going to get to the far kind of western corner of the top. And we're almost there. You can see now it's starting to get, so I'm facing straight west, and now I'm looking over the edge of the hill, and it's starting to point south there. So that's that kind of U shape of it. So that means I'm kind of like right here. I'm looking out that way, and then I want to start following it the way it's pointing south. So what I'm going to do is move to this kind of far corner of it, and once I get to the point where I've dropped down 10 meters, then I know that I'm, you know, basically right here. And so that's where I want to get before I shoot the azimuth to the next point. Because if I just stop anywhere up here, I just shoot an azimuth from here, you know, or here, well, I don't really know where I'm at, you know, and it could make a difference shooting an azimuth from here versus here. You know, it will make a difference. It could be enough of a difference that I have a little bit harder of a time to find my my point. So I just want to be as certain about where I am as possible. This movement shouldn't be so far that it's, hold on, kind of disoriented here. Let me looking west, and this is the way it's going. Okay. So just looking at it, looks like this movement might not be so far that small amount of deviation would make a huge difference, but if it was any longer, it could. So it's definitely good to be kind of as cautious as possible. Okay, so I can see here, you know, that's the highest point. Have I come down 10 meters? Probably not. Probably go a little further. I think down here it might be at the point where, you know, if you visualize those contour lines drawn in the actual terrain, this might kind of be where it is. This could be a 10-meter drop. Let's go a little further, see what it looks like here. And just double check my orientation. Yep, okay. We are facing south still. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that kind of right here is probably where the contour line would be. I think we've come down 10 meters from the top. So I'll go ahead and shoot my azimuth from here, keeping in mind, you know, I could be a little bit here, it could be a little bit here, it could be a little bit here. So we don't have, you know, like I was saying, we don't have that, you know, 1 meter of accuracy here. So we keep that in mind. And what that means is when I get to the correct distance, you know, I could be here, I could be here. And so we're going to have to look a little bit, you know. No, we can't expect that. We're going to walk directly to it with laser accuracy. So shoot my azimuth to it, add 5 for the GM angle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that gives us 204. And so we're up here, and let's get our distance. For this one, I think it's safe to just straight line it. We will, looks like, kind of on our left side, get a little bit of a drop with a drainage there. So that will kind of inform us, you know, we can just kind of use that as a phase line. So that will be phase line 1. We get the same thing on the right here, a little bit of a kind of a finger that we're gonna go through of a drainage going downhill. So a second one, you know, so 2 drainages left, then right, and then another, you know, 50, 75 meters to our Humvee. Good thing about the Humvee is it's pretty big, so it's kind of easy to see from a distance. So 204 for 450, it looks like, 450 meters, and then just to kind of, just in case I lose track of things, if I'm talking or something, I'll say left, then right. Just as a reminder, there's going to be a drainage on the left and then right. You can of course write your own notes, you know, shorthand, or you can write it out in complete sentences like a novel, whatever you want to do. For me, I just want enough just to jog my memory if I need it. Okay, so what do we say? 204, 450 meters. 204. Set my bezel. 204, and then so I'm going to count pace on this one. Let me reset it there. So every time it hits 10, I just hold +1 on my head. Okay, so there's 2. There's 3. And yeah, I'm just walking on the train. There's 4. Kind of looking at the train. I can kind of see over on the left there, all those brushes. I think that's kind of that first drainage. There's 5. And then I think up there is that second drainage. So I think these are kind of my 2 landmarks. And 6. And 7, so I'll mark 100 meters there. Oh, you know what? Look at that. Hold on. Is that it? Yep. You can already see the Humvee, so I don't have to count pace this whole time. Okay, I'll just hoof it to it. The woods aren't too thick here, so you can see a pretty good distance. And if that was a control point, I doubt I would have been able to see it, so it would have been safer to count pace and just do it that way. But since it's a big Humvee with those reflective windows, I can see it from a long ways away. So I'll get to the Humvee. That's the end point. Obviously we're not done with the exercise. We still have to get our 2 control points, but it serves as a good attack point. It gives us the known location. Because there's really not a lot to go on in this area. So once we get there, we can plan out the next phase and go for our control points, which are further south from here, and then we'll have to come back to it. And I think it's going to start getting into kind of thicker woods once we get down in there. Okay, so just a little kind of get oriented. We're in a new area here, so that's south. North. Just kind of. It's always good to take a quick minute, just kind of get a little used to your surroundings when you get to a new area. Just so that if you get a little confused later, you can kind of sanity check yourself. Okay, so we came down from here. Now we're here at the Humvee. Let's take a look. Well, before I start shooting azimuths, let's take a look at the terrain. What I want basically is, if we have to just distance and direction straight to it, that's fine. But if we have some terrain that we can go off of, any good attack points, that's even better, because then we have 2 ways to know where we are. And just a little, if you bring up your help menu here, and you have this is just taken straight from the the Army FM. You must know where you are on the map and on the ground at all times and in every possible way. So what that means here is just don't just distance and direction and think that's enough. Use terrain association as well, and vice versa. Don't just say, okay, I'll recognize this hill, and so I'm just gonna go straight to it. Also know how far it is and know what the direction is, and use those both in conjunction as much as possible, whenever possible. Obviously, if it's pitch black midnight and you can't see your hand in front of your face, you just do what you got to do, but in every possible way. Yeah, I was pointing out that hill, I think. Now this isn't a super prominent hill. You can see we're at 160, we're going to go down to 150, and then this is 140 in here, and it's going to come back up to 150. So this is a pretty minor hill. It's something that could easily miss. However, kind of ringing around it, we have a fairly steep 30 meter drop off. And so that will, I think, be a good backstop. If I go over that, I think I'll definitely know it. So basically, we want to get to this backstop and then, kind of find the highest point. It's not too far from us too, so we can kind of shoot an azimuth to it, add 5 for the GM angle. That gives us 216. So 216 to hill. I don't. In this case, it's pretty short. I'm not gonna go to. Excuse me. I'm not gonna go to great lengths to write a ton of notes for this one. But let's just kind of get a sense of the terrain. We're gonna be going generally downhill. The kind of the lay of the land is funneling us towards it a little bit, right? As long as we're kind of following the, this not a ridge, but just the way the land's flowing. And so we don't want to go over we don't want to go beyond the steep part yet. Once we get to it, I'll go ahead and shoot a new azimuth once we get to it. Let's just kind of go one step at a time here. So 216, and again, let's not completely rely on that backstop. Let's also get a sense of how far it is, 300 meters, or 300 meters. And that 300 meters, even though I'm not going to count my pace in this case, because I do have that good backstop, it's going to help me still just kind of keep a sanity check as I go. What am I doing? Oh, notepad button. Okay, so what did we say here? 216 for 300 meters. So there's 215, 16. And then for 300 meters, so again, I'm gonna just pick on a tree that's along the way. How about that? That kind of white tree there. And I'll try to keep an eye on him. And we're gonna go for about 300 meters. Is that right? Maybe not that white tree. Yeah, I think I can kind of see the hill down there. Okay, let's go. And so that's why it's good to pick out something in the distance, because if the whole way I'm walking, if I kind of got my nose in my compass the whole way, what that means is that I can't kind of have my eyes on the land, And so since I know I'm kind of going for the mid part of a bunch of red, orange colored trees there. Now as I'm going, I'm keeping eyes on the land, because I know, we're kind of got this hill here, and then it's going to slope down a little bit and then rise back up. So that's what I'm kind of looking at, is watching the lay of the land here. And so, okay, so this is kind of a little higher portion here, which I think is the edge of this. And then we have a bowl here, and then it's rising back up. Not a bowl, but a saddle is what you would call it. And then it's rising back up 10 meters. It's been a long time since I did the hill, saddle, valley, ridge, depression, cliff drop, spur thing. I think that's it. And actually, that's one thing I should mention. When I do add in the training for this game, I want to keep it just purely practical, just only about actually doing LANDNAV in the field, not any like NCOER stuff where you have to memorize like the 7 terrain features and stuff, because to me that stuff is just kind of academic, and it doesn't necessarily translate into actually being able to problem solve and actually do LANDNAV in the field. And then also, if somebody's playing a video game, I don't think they want to sit there and memorize the 7 terrain features. You can just study the RMFN if you need to do that. And so all the training in this game will be purely practical. Just about actually using your tools and problem solving in the field, and developing experience too. Someone can teach you the techniques, but there's a world of difference between knowing the technique on paper and actually being able to apply it in different situations in the field. So you have to practice. Okay, so I'm at my attack point. I'm on this second rise here, and then this is that good 30-meter drop off. That a nice steep slope is a great terrain feature you can identify. So from here, let's go ahead and get our next portion now. Are we here or are we here? That's not super easy to say. We could spend 20 minutes and figure it out, but we just need to account for the fact that if I shoot an azimuth from here, but I'm actually here, that is going to introduce, by the time I get to my target, that's going to introduce 50 to 100 meters of deviation. So I just need to keep in mind that there is that degree of variance, and it will make a difference. So just be aware of that. So let's get a azimuth to our next point. Add 5 for the GM angle. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That gives us 229, or is it 230? 229, I think. 229. And then let's see how far it's going to be. The more important thing, so if you are, if you're not quite sure if you're, here or here, the important thing in this case is distance. Because we know we're not, we know we're not here. We know that we are at the edge of this upper portion of the hill. So as long as we know our distance, we can get to that distance, and then we can walk back and forth, right, and find our point. So it's going to be just about 300 meters. Looks like just maybe slightly less than 300 meters. We do have a little bit of some terrain we can go off of. If we go too far to the right, kind of nothing for a ways, but if we err a little bit more to the left side, there's a couple things looks like we have to go off of. One, we got a little bit of the terrain sloping upwards. Let's see, so that's 120. That's also 120. No, that's 130. Okay, so that's 130 and then 140. Okay, so this is sloping up very gradually. So yeah, so we're going up. We're gonna cross. That might not be something we're able to kind of feasibly read, but kind of a little bit of an uphill on our left, and then but the real thing I'm looking for is this here, because that's a pretty steep thing going on. So it's 110. I think there might be a few errors with the elevation markers here, because that's 110 and this is 100. Oh no, okay, I was just looking at it weird. Okay, so it's 110 and then this is 100, so it's a 20-meter drop, or no, sorry, just a 10-meter drop here. So we got a 10-meter drop, kind of this little narrow, kind of a long depression, but I think that's something we'll be able to read. So as I'm traveling, I might err a little bit more just on the left side, just that way if I do go too far, I'll run into that, and then I'll know where I am. Whereas if I went too far this way, I'd end up having to go an extra 100 meters before I hit that backstop. So just knowing that there is that degree of inaccuracy because I don't know precisely where I am on this hill, I'll err towards basically the closer backstop rather than going for a further backstop. Because if I run into it here, then I'm really not very far from my point, and I can kind of adjust from there. Okay, that's enough talking. I think you get the point. 229 for 300 meters. Let's go do it. 229, so just under 300. 229 there. 300 meters. And we're looking for that beginning of a slope on our uphill slope on our left, and then, you know, if I'm having to go around brush and stuff, I'm going to err a little bit more to my left side. We're not looking for a Humvee this time, so it's not going to be super easy to spot from a long distance. But if you're playing at night, one thing I learned when I did LANDNAV at Camp McCall is, you know, obviously getting around at night's a pain in the ass, and you get sticks in your eyes and crap like that. But it's actually in some ways it's easier because you can see the chem lights on the control points from a pretty long ways away. I mean, you can see them from like 500 meters away sometimes, right? So for me at night, I just tried to move fast and get within, like, you know, 500 meters of the point, and then just kind of look around, because you can sometimes see them from a pretty long ways away. Not in every case, obviously. It depends kind of what the terrain is around, what the terrain around the control point is like. But especially if the moon was out, because then the dirt roads there, they would just kind of glow, because they were kind of like a white, well, not a white, but a pretty light colored sand, and the moonlight would just glow off of them. So you could be pretty far away from those roads, which you're not allowed to walk on them, but you know, you can still kind of see them from a long ways away and just handrail them. I wasn't such a nice guy, and when I made this game, though, I didn't give any roads to go off of, so you'll have to learn how to read the terrain. But I wasn't doing that just to be a jerk. I just figured if people are just hand-railing a road in a game, it's going to get pretty boring. To me, it needs to be kind of engaging. You need to have your mind engaged, otherwise it's going to get boring. Speaking of my mind engaged, I've been focused on talking and not... I definitely wasn't counting. I should have just counted my pace. But that's okay. We got that backstop we can go off of. I'm just kind of seeing if I can identify it early. There's our, you know, very gradual slope going uphill. And let's see what all this brush is about here. This might be our... Have we gone... I don't think we've gone 300 meters. This might be a bit early. Yeah, it's not... That's not enough of a terrain feature that I would read on the map. So just remember those contour lines are for every 10 meters of elevation difference. So, you know, like a little bump right this isn't going to read on the map. Ooh, I think that's actually our... That's got to be right. No, I'm just recording a video, but you can come by. Yeah.
Can I borrow your person?
Yeah, let me just pause it.
Will you help me carry this upstairs and then put the sheets on? Well, help me put it on.
Oh, okay. Well, just can you give me like 5 minutes? I'll just finish up this point here. I'm just about to this point, and then I could just stop the video and continue it later.
Okay.
That way I don't have to like edit the video and splice it together and all that stuff. Okay, yeah, so this is definitely our... I went a little too far to the left, but that's okay. That's what I wanted to do. Our 20 meter drop off here. And so we can kind of deduce that our point's going to be somewhere right over here. Oh, there it is, right there. Great. So I'm not doing the exercise yet. We got one more point to get, and then we also have to get back to the Humvee after that. But I'll go ahead and stop the video here, and I'll pick up this exercise tomorrow or something. But my wife is wanting me to help do some chores, so 51:23, and it is pretty late. I'm kind of tired, so 51:23. Before I exit, though, let's again do a little sanity check. 0068. We're here. 2627. makes sense. Okay, and that is our first point. Great. So we got our first point down. So just to recap, we started up here. We used terrain association to get to the top of this hill. Then we used dead reckoning techniques to get a distance and direction. Started counting our pace, and then we were able to see that Humvee from a distance, so we just ran right to it. Then we again, we used kind of a combination of terrain association to identify an attack point and a backstop, and we used distance and direction to get to it. Once we got there, we used distance, we used distance and direction to fall in azimuth to get to our control point down here, but we identified a terrain feature here so that we would know if we went too far, and then we kind of gave a little bit of error in our azimuth just so that we would hit that closer backstop rather than if we went too far this way. And then if I was at this point and I recognized this terrain feature at that point, I'd have to go quite a bit further to find my control point. So just a little bit of mix of kind of both of the major styles of land navigation you can do. So tomorrow or whenever I continue this, have a pretty long movement here through pretty sparse flat terrain. So this will probably be the biggest challenge of the exercise, I think. And then we got to get back, and then back to the Humvee. So obviously I'm not too worried about the time. Oh, we got 30 seconds left to get outstanding. So I'm not too worried about time because I've been kind of talking and explaining the whole time, but I bet we can finish it. Yeah, we got an hour 15 left for no-go. So we should be able to do that. Anyways, I don't really care about the time. This is just more about kind of demonstrating. But so I don't need to write any notes on my notepad because I'm sitting here at the control point, and then I'll be able to see exactly where I'm at. So I'll just exit from here and then continue with it tomorrow. Okay, I hope this is useful for some of you guys. If anybody actually watched the entire thing, that's well, hopefully it was useful or at least entertaining. But I'll talk to you guys later.